Oh, hello everybody and welcome to our Wave 224 seminar. Just a matter of housekeeping, my colleague and I, Sam, will be running through some slides and a lot of information for you. If anything pops to mind, if you've got any questions, please pop it into the chat box, which you should have available on your screen. Okay, so without further ado, let me start with this one. Got a brief slide here just to show you, talk to you through a little bit about experience, which you might know or do not know. So experience started its life over about 50 years ago as an early pioneer in the UK computing industry. We've got over 240 staff, we support over 1,800 clients, and currently working over these 6 offices, as you can see on the map here. That's London, Gloucester, Bury St Edmunds, Peterborough, Glasgow, and Lisbon. On the left, you can see the pillars we carry: managed IT and cloud, cybersecurity, ERP, and CRM. And particularly CRM is what today's topic is all about. So today's presenters is myself, Pauline Lindeque, and my colleague Sam Mitchell. Just a little bit about me. So I've been working in the Dynamics world for about 7 years, 5 of which with experience, or some of you might know experience recently purchased GCC. So that's where my origin sits. I'm down in the Gloucester office, but working as a dynamic CRM and Power Platform consultant. And the consultant's job, as you might know or not know, is, as I'm doing today, right through to marketing, pre-sales, scoping with you, sitting through workshops, understanding your business, and then configuring, delivering. When we deliver, do some training, and training leads to you going live on a new system or changes to your current system. So and even down to support. So a consultant's job really spans a whole life cycle of you and interacting with you. And that's me in a nutshell. Sam, how about you?
Hi everyone. As you guys may or may not have dealt with me before in the past, I'm in the same role as Pauline. I'm a CRM Power Platform consultant. I've been working here for the majority of my professional career at the same company, mostly based out of the Peterborough office. I used to be working for DMC Software. For some of those customers that have stuck around for a long time, they'll remember that. I've worked with all sorts of CRM systems, right back from Act, Info CRM, Sage CRM, and now obviously Dynamic CRM / Power Platform. I've got a big interest in AI, both professionally and personally, and I'm excited to show you some of the new features that are coming in Wave 2 around Copilot. So looking forward to it. Thanks, Pauline.
Thank you, Sam. Right, so let's carry on the agenda. We've covered the overview, so that's great. I'll be talking about Copilots in the sales environment, and then Sam will take over about the rest of Copilot Power Platform, Developer Environment, and Copilot Studio. Right, so the Wave 2 release, which is the subject of this webinar, I've put the slide on, and when you get the copy of the slide deck, please use these links to open up the pages, which shows all the things that Microsoft has planned, is planned, and will be planning in the near future. This page looks a little bit like that. It's very interactive and very, very useful little page. If you click around a bit, you can get to the different areas. Under each area, there's an item, a change that they're going to apply, and then you can, with that little drop down arrow there, you come up with a little box like this, which gives you, can you get early access to the feature? Is it in public preview? Is it general availability? Now, if something's in general availability, like this one here, it'll be general availability December 2024. It should pop up in your environment. If it doesn't, it probably needs some configuration, and if it does need configuration, it'll tell you down here it's aimed at users like you, or it might be aimed at us as developers. It's automatically or needs to be configured and set up, and there's even links to exactly how it works and some screenshots and things, so please feel free to have a nose around there. Some of you might be aware the changes, as you can see, come periodically. It's not like a big release, big install, and bang, everything's there. They appear on typically Fridays or the weekends. Microsoft pushes changes through, and even then they come area by area. So Europe and America have different sort of timescales and schedules to us. Okay, I'm just going to talk you a little bit through some of the things, and I know it's all going to be about Copilot, but it is all about Copilot. There are obviously some other changes in different areas, but the interesting bits for all of us is how they're trying to bring in Copilot, which is Microsoft's generative AI solution into Dynamics or into the sales world. There's sort of two flavors to it. So Copilot in your Dynamics environment, or then Copilot for sales. So just Copilot in your Dynamics environment, which if you're currently running Dynamics, you would have seen it, whether it be sales or customer service or indeed field service. And it is included in Sales Enterprise Customer Service in the enterprise level licensing. And it's features that increase and improve incrementally. So some of the things I'll show you said, oh, well, I've seen it before. And yes, you've seen it because it was on pre-release, or yes, you've seen it, but now they've put some more improvements into it. Just to note that some of the features can be disabled and enabled in the back end. So there's things that you don't like, just please tell us and we can tell you about it. But mostly we give it a try and we let the AI learn from our data, because that's the way it works. It needs a lot of information to give you sensible answers back. And of course, when you're starting it off, it doesn't always have an enormous amount of data to work with. As you can see, it works within Dynamics sort of flawlessly. It's built to work on standard tables. They're bringing in some custom tables, but also, and I call these listening fields. Sometimes you'll see a summary, summarizing your account or summarizing opportunity. We can tweak some of those things. So there is some configuration and settings that we can do in the back end, and yeah, just let us know what you want to do, and we can either apply to you or ask you to wait till it appears or is available as things progress and change. That's Copilot within Dynamics. This Copilot for Sales is a separately licensed product with additional cost. The sales element here needn't be Dynamics, Microsoft's Dynamics. It could be Salesforce, but of course, being the Microsoft world we're talking about the sales element it integrates with. So it's what it's trying to do is to bring Copilot linking Dynamics Sales or customer service with the rest of your office. And when you buy this license, you also get Copilot for Microsoft 365. Now, Microsoft 365, some of you might have that already. This is where it brings the other products like Word, Excel, Outlook, Teams in. So you've got Copilot sitting there, but the plan is that it then starts talking to Dynamics. And I'll show you a couple of screens that I've captured on that. So things like in Outlook or in Teams, where when you currently in Teams, if you've got the right licensing, you can do recaps, and it can sort of list action points. Well, how would we save that back into Dynamics and link that to against your opportunity? That sort of thing we want to see with this license. So that's what this license brings for us. Same with Word and OneNote. When you get the slide deck, there's a little link here to take you to the Copilot for Sales page. Right. So let me show you a couple of things. This is within Dynamics itself. So the one that just appears as part of your Sales Enterprise, Custom Enterprise license. It's called Account 360. And it should be, it's not in general release yet, but it is in preview. So watch the space. You've all seen this little flyout, I think, when you click that little button, flies out, and it gives you a summary of the data. Now, this is where I said we could tweak which of the fields it'll listen out to and report on. But you can see here a chart. So it's just trying to do more clever, more pretty things. And if you don't have any data, no opportunities, it won't show you opportunities. So it's trying to be a little bit intelligent. That's the Account 360 view. Another one that might be of interest is an immersive home page. Now, when we put down a dynamic solution, it's always got the dashboards, and the dashboard is tweaked by us to fit your business. This is Copilot or AI interrogating your data itself, and what changes, what gets used, and then creating you a little dashboard, a clever summary itself. So watch that space. That is only public preview 2025, so I don't think any of you have seen it. So these screenshots come from Microsoft's web pages rather than for real. So the slide panels slide out, I think we've all seen that. And just once again, you're using that little thing, it slides out. This is an opportunity summary. There's also summary on the timelines. I'm finding them more and more useful, and I'm guessing the customers are starting to see it, bringing in its relevance, so asking relevant questions. And once again, these will increase and improve as you use the system. I've called it email wizardry. There's a couple of things that start popping up, and it should be general availability now. So you might have seen some of these little icons when you're creating an email. If you start typing in text, highlight the text and say, please upload my text with a professional wording, long or short, or a friendly tone. And it just changes your text to that, sort of adjusting it. But then also you can ask it to suggest. So if you're in a case and you don't have enough information, you want to send an email to the customer to say, please, can you call me? Click that button, and the idea is it drafts you an email. It'll never ever send an email. Microsoft is quite keen to let you be in control. It's an aid to you as a end user of the system. Right, so those were things that live within natively in Dynamics. The Copilot things, Copilot for Sales was our add-on. And this is where you're collaborating between Dynamics and things like Outlook, Teams, OneNote. Just got a couple of examples here, which I think might be quite nifty. If I start at the bottom, I use OneNote extensively when I make all my notes, but it would be really nice for summaries to be collaborated and pulled back into Dynamics on Save More Opportunity or on my case if I'm working on that. What you'll also find is that in Outlook, where we had a lot of you, if you've got Dynamics at the moment, you can track your emails into Outlook. This is extending it to bring the AI functionality or clever bits back into that flyout, so that sort of replaces the old application or brings in new features in that old application. Teams, that's another one which I did mention before. If you've got a Teams meeting with a summary with action points, yes, save that back to Dynamics on the timeline, but also how about it creating a new opportunity? How about arranging a meeting? How about drafting the email with the send out? So a lot of this is available right now in Office, but it's just now then joining up with Dynamics, which is an exciting feature for us. Right, I'm going to stop there because this is all Sam's bit that he's going to take over from me. So Sam, do you want to take over control from me?
Yeah, thanks, Pauline. So I'll be sharing my screen with you now. Bear with. Okay, so following on from the new features with Copilot, I'll be talking to you about that a bit later on, and hopefully provide some demos of what it's actually capable of as well. We'll get the slightly more humdrum stuff out of the way initially, which is more about the Canvas apps and the benefits to us as your business partner for creating these Canvas apps for you. It just makes us more efficient when working with them. Essentially, it allows us to operate in a co-authored space. So rather than just one developer having access to building a Canvas app for you, we can now have two developers, or me as a project manager or something like that, with the developer in the same space at the same time, working collaboratively together. It's not so exciting for end users, but for us it's very exciting because it just opens it up to a more collaborative working environment across Experience Group, which just makes us more efficient, which is nice. The fact that we can now actually get into the source code of a lot of these Canvas apps too, and post some of that stuff over to GitHub, reuse code if we need to from other projects. Again, that's efficiency savings from our side. It's essentially a nice feature for devs to have. If you do dip into the development space, or you have had a look at Canvas apps yourself, maybe with a colleague, this new functionality is going to be quite helpful. You have to switch it on. I haven't included steps on how to do that necessarily in here, but we can provide information on how to do that if you ever did want to. Moving on to the next slide. So we've got some end user model-driven app enhancements. The first one I want to tell you about is within Power Pages. Microsoft have given you a much easier way to just sort of drag and drop files into a Power Page. Whereas before you used to have to press on a button, press browse and go browse to a file. Now you can just drag and drop stuff over into the Power Page, which is a lot easier to use. They've also increased the file upload allocation so that they can upload much larger files. So if a customer's got a great big PDF, that's fine. It will be able to accept that. Previously, you were very limited on the size of files that could be dropped in. The other big benefit is the governance of data security, basically, or masking of data. Some of you guys will log certain sensitive pieces of information into your database that you don't want every man and his dog seeing, even if they work for you. Bank account numbers, sensitive information, whatever it is. You did have access to this functionality previously through field security, but it was a bit of a pain to set up. So what Microsoft have done is they've leaned more into the whole security by default model, meaning a lot of these fields will be secured by default unless you say otherwise. What it allows you to do is it allows you to share out certain masked data depending on who they are at the organization and whether they've got any business looking at that information. For example, if they are the owner of a record, maybe they should be able to see that info. Everyone else might be able to see header information but not specific info like bank account number and whatnot. So masking data in the database, making it more private, has been a focus for them, and it's become a lot easier to be able to do that. And you can see at the top here what it does is essentially it stars out certain fields if you haven't got access to it. There's data there, but you can't see it. One I'm going to do a bit of a demo on, but I'll just give you a bit of a summary now. It's a long time coming, but you can now group data in Power Platform. This functionality is in there now. So if you were to go into your system after this demonstration, you should have access to this. And if not, you can get in contact with us and we can give you a hand. What it lets you do is within a view, it lets you actually group certain pieces of common information together and then provide totals and costs. What I'll do is I'll just demo that for you now so you can see it. It won't take long. So I've created a very quick mock-up environment, my demo environment. You can see here we've just got some basic entities on the left-hand side: accounts, contacts, info packs, which is a custom entity, activities, and Copilot. If I go over into info packs, just to give you a bit of spiel of what an info pack might be, an info pack may have been requested by a customer to garner more information on a product that you sell. So in our case, I mean, it's easiest just to apply to our own business. We sell MIT, Dynamics CRM, Infor CRM. We also sell Sage CRM, which actually isn't in that list at the moment. And then, we might want to mark whether it's been fulfilled, whether it's still outstanding, and then how much each of these info packs cost us to generate. Now, so far, so easy. The first major benefit is the fact that you can actually just click and drag fields around in this interface now. Previously, you couldn't do that. You used to have to go to your edit columns and then move them up and down in there. You can still do that, but the point is it's just a lot easier just to move things around in your view if that's what you want. The core benefit here is now if you click on a field that you can quantify, so for instance, info pack type, click up there, you'll have this new feature that says group by. Select that and it will actually sort those common fields into certain groupings. So we've got 4 Dynamics CRM, 1 Infor, 2 SQL, and 1 MIT. Look over on the cost column though, you can see it's still blank at the moment, even though we have got some costs there. The reason for that is because we've not told the cost column how we want it to calculate the figures. If we click over onto cost, head over to totals, we've got average, maximum, minimum, or indeed sum. Most of the time, it will probably be sum that you want to be working with. If you select sum, you can see it actually gives you a count up how much each of these categories are actually costing us. So Dynamics CRM, we spent £20 on generating info packs, and these are the details of those info packs. For Microsoft SQL, we've got quite an expensive info pack there, and if we drop that down, we can see there's a £400 one and a £10 one. And then at the bottom, we've got a sum. How much is all of this added up? If I was to move that over to how much does it cost us on average, it'll give you averages. So that Microsoft SQL one has now gone down because there's 2 in there, one at £400, one at 10. So it gives you the average between the two. And then there's the average, £60.75 for an info pack. Minor enhancement, but this was a long time coming, and I think it's you guys have got this now. Use it. The only restriction that you've got on this is you cannot group by lookup fields. All right, so if you've got a lookup like this guy here, you'll see there's no group by option, because fulfilled by is a lookup to the user table. All right, but whenever you've got, you know, a simple field, we can group it by that simple field. Okay, and there's fulfilled and pending. If we've got a date field, we can group that, and we can say group it by year, by quarter, by month, by week, or by day. Yeah, very, very handy feature, this. Going back to the demo, to the slides even. So those are the sort of, you know, Power Platform enhancements that you've got. Next, I just want to talk to you a little bit about Copilot. Well, more AI within Power Automate. Some of you guys have leveraged Power Automate a lot more than others. Power Automate is a fantastically useful tool that lets us interlink all of the products across your Microsoft stack. So whether that be Dataverse, Microsoft Excel, OneNote, you know, all of the different Microsoft Outlook, all the different Microsoft products that you use, we can sort of draw into one automation platform and then get them all talking to each other and doing their jobs together collaboratively. So, for example, in the most basic sense, if you create a new record in Dataverse, Power Platform, CRM, you can get a Power Automate flow just to send an email off to somebody using Outlook. It could be a customer, it could be someone at your company, or it can ping a Teams message. There's lots you can do with Power Automate. Some of you, this might be news. Some of you, you know, you already know that's in there, and that it's nothing new. But it's worth me just sort of setting the groundwork now, just to tell you about Power Automate. And if you're not using it, you'll ask us about it, because it's you know, a very easy way to sort of interconnect everything. You can generate Word documents on the fly automatically. It can put rows in Excel automatically if you need it to do that. It can put stuff in SharePoint. There's loads of functionality within there. It'll also interconnect with third-party systems if you need it to too. The benefits that Wave 2 is bringing in is a lot more AI interoperability. So you can essentially, you know, say if you've got a DocuSign, someone's put a signature on a DocuSign document, you can get AI to read the contents of that document. And let's say as well, they've got some handwritten comments on that document too. AI is clever enough to read handwriting, and it can actually put that into a static field inside of Dataverse. It can read someone's handwriting, convert it to text, and put it in a static field. I did this yesterday. You know, with, you know, from a personal perspective, I had to read some handwriting, and I got AI to essentially tell me what that handwriting said, because I couldn't read it. It's brilliant at that. There's all sorts of different things you can do with it as well. So you can see on the right hand side, I've kind of listed, you know, just some of the options that we have. So we can analyze positive or negative sentiments in a piece of text. So if a customer sends you something and they're happy, maybe you want it to flag something to somebody at the company to say, this is a happy customer, you know, we've done well here, we've got a really positive email from them. AI can detect that, it can pick that up and let someone know. The inverse works with negative sentiments. If you've got an unhappy camper, you know, a customer that's expressing dissatisfaction, again, it can analyze positive and negative sentiments, and you can get it to take action based on what you've defined. You're not relying on someone just happening to see something, or for a human being to manually check stuff anymore. It's clever enough to work out, you know, what fields say. It can take the context of maybe 10 or 20 different fields that are stored in all sorts of different places, maybe across different platforms, and then just give you a short summary on a header of what's in those fields. For those of you that use customer service, you'll already have seen this, because it's in the case management area at the top. Now you've got an AI description of what's happened with that particular case. You're not having to look in 6 different places for that information. It just gives you that summary. So big enhancements really with Power Automate. I'm really looking forward to implementing some of this for you. In fact, we have done already for a few customers. So yeah, extremely exciting there. You can now create your own Copilot within Copilot Studio that's actually trained on your company specific data. All right, so it gives you what amounts to your own personal AI assistant. What you would do is you would go and create your bot, your Copilot, you know, Studio bot, and you define where it gets its information from. Now that could be just from a set of documents, as you can see in the screenshot. I've uploaded some policy documents onto there. It could be a SharePoint site, and it will index the entire SharePoint site and all the files in there and read them, and then you can interrogate it and ask questions. You know, it can read Dataverse. You can submit Dataverse tables into your knowledge. You know, if it's an opportunity, you can say read over the opportunities table and you know, give me recent deals that have gone in or recent closures. You know, it can talk with any other website as well. So you can just point it at a website and say go read it. You know, it can also talk to APIs too. There's a whole different, you know, slew of different things you can connect it to. And in a minute, I'm going to sort of show you how it's configured and what it's capable of. You can also guide it, right? So, you know, if you're planning on potentially publishing this on your website so your customers can interactively ask or query data of your Copilot bot, you can do that. It's very easy to do that. But what you can do is you can tailor and refine how it interacts with your customer. For example, what kind of greeting should it give them? If the customer asks about this, what kind of things do I want it to do? And lastly, on the what kind of things do I want it to do, you can tell it to take action depending on how the chat is going. If it doesn't know and it loses its way, you can tell it, right, okay, if you lose your way, go and tell someone, and it will open up a live chat session with someone at your company. You don't have to give the customer, you know, the ability to talk to you over Teams. Copilot will just take care of that, and it will just open up a little Teams chat window to say I'm having problems. It's really good. Just to sort of demo this a little bit. So I've got my policy document robot, and in there I stipulate in the instructions what it should do, and this is indicating to the AI agent how I want it to operate. And I've said designed to answer specific questions around standard company policy documentation. It should minimize hallucinations and stick strictly to what is covered in the information that I'm providing. Okay, so that's where you outlay how you want it to operate, what you want it to say. If you go over to your knowledge, this is where you're going to go to actually upload your documentation. And you see you've got a big button at the top here that says add knowledge. If I press that, I can, as I was saying earlier on in the brief, public websites, a SharePoint library, Dataverse, or I can just click and drag files into there. It will read PDFs, it will read CSVs, read obviously Word documents. You know, if it will read images, if it can read it, it will process it and add it to its knowledge. Okay, and it is just as easy as just dragging them over and saying, right, you are now trained on this knowledge. Under topics, this is where you go in to stipulate how it interacts with people. So how it says hello, how it says goodbye, how you ask it to start over, how it thanks somebody, and you can add your own into there as well. It doesn't have to be a hello or a goodbye. It could be a, you know, if they ask me about a certain topic, this is kind of how I'd like you to respond. And then we've got our actions, and this is where you go to actually stipulate certain actions. So that could be add a row to Excel. You can take a row out of Excel. You can run a certain script. You can send an email notification. And there's all sorts of other things you can do as well. You can pull to an API. There's loads of different things you can do with this. You can get it to start one of those Power Automate flows I was telling you about earlier on. So it goes and does something automatically. And that's all just based on a conversation that your customer or your staff is having with the bot. Then you've got your analytics where you can sort of just see how well your bot is achieving, where it's had to sort of drop out, where it's not achieved something, and what is your interaction with it? How many did it resolve? How many did it have to escalate? How many did it abandon? What's the engagement? You know, this is Power BI, by the way, guys. You've most likely seen this already. But yeah, it sort of tells you how much is actually being utilized. Then if we head over to the channels bit, this is how you add it to other stuff. So whether that be Microsoft Teams, which I'll show you in a sec, you can even integrate it with Facebook. You have a company robot, which customers can interact with on Facebook if you wanted to. You can put it on a website. You can get them to interact via email. So if someone sends an email to a specific email address, it will get an automatic AI response trying to help them out. You know, there's all sorts you can integrate with, and to share it into Microsoft Teams, it is just a case of clicking on the tile that you want to share it into, and you would literally just then share it out to whoever it is that you want. So availability options, and then you can just pick, you know, show to my teammates or show to everyone in my organization. You know, it's dead simple to actually add this. And in the Blue Peter style, here's one I made earlier. This is the policy bot. Okay, so this is in Microsoft Teams, in case you didn't recognize the window. Now, as I say earlier on, it is trained on certain specific documentation. So, for example, I've got a document on there that's about bringing a pet to work. Okay, and this is just generic documentation, by the way, I've generated, funnily enough, by an AI. Now, what I'm able to do is do something like this. I'm thinking in natural language of bringing my German Shepherd into the office tomorrow morning. What do I need to know before I do that? No, I didn't say dog. No, I didn't say pet. No, I said German Shepherd. And this is in Teams, which you can just pin at the top of Teams, or you can add it as an app within Teams as well. And it knows straight away to bring your pet to the office, you need to follow the company's policy. And the information that it's providing here is based on the Word document that I've told it in its knowledge. And it sticks to that. It doesn't try and go off to the internet and try and find information, but it's clever enough to know German Shepherd. He's asking about a German Shepherd. That must be his pet. And it's able to just infer that. I've not told that at any point. You know, at no point have I stipulated that. It just knows. It's extremely handy, and it will only do what you tell it to, but is also clever enough to infer language. Large language models are fantastic. Let's go back to the demonstration. So, as always, when we give you these webinars and technical sort of, speeches, if you like, it can be sometimes quite hard to infer your usage from this. Oh, it all looks very cool, but I can't see how we'd use it. So I've been asked to sort of give you a couple of examples of where it's going to be useful. So you can have it for customer support. So if you operate a customer support department, whether that be IT or whether that be a physical hardware that you guys sell, chances are it goes wrong at some point and they need to get hold of you to log an issue, and you'll either fix it under warranty or you would help them troubleshoot and get back online again, whatever it is. With a bot, what you're able to do is actually feed it your documentation on your piece of software or piece of hardware or whatever. And as the customer says, I've got a problem, this is the kind of problem I'm having, it's going to consult your documentation, whether that be physical files you've provided or whether it's going to look over in your cases entity in Dataverse, and it's going to look over how it's been solved in the past, and it's going to try and help your customer out before it even tries to escalate to a real person. That will be an avenue. If it can't solve it, it will escalate, and you can tell it automatically go and raise a ticket in Dynamics for me. The nice thing about that is, because the customer's interacting with the Copilot, the details on the case are going to be extremely detailed. It will have screenshots. It will have, a summary of the conversation of what the customer logged. So even though it was originally logged by the robots, because the customer's provided information, it will all be there. And then you can get real-time analytics on that. Sales coaching. So you can feed it a call transcript. Let's say you just got off the phone with a customer and they're really keen on what it is you've got to say and that you'll be a good fit. A bot would have full knowledge of your entire product portfolio, and it's quite a tall order for all salespeople to have a intrinsic knowledge of every single product it is that you sell. Especially if in our case, if you're asking me about ERP, for example, I'm more of a CRM guy, so I won't necessarily know. What a bot will do is it will have access to all of that information, and after the call, it will analyze what you spoke about and go, yeah, that conversation was good, but you didn't really mention ERP systems. Just as a reminder, we sell ERP, and here's how I think it might be a good fit, for your customer based on that conversation you just had. And then I might say, oh yeah, that is a good fit. Can you schedule me a follow-up phone call or send them a quick email just with some key points about the ERP side? Oh yeah, I'll do that. It will draft the email. I'll read it over and I'll say, yes, please send it. And it will send off that information to the customer that I perhaps didn't cover in my meeting I had with them. So sales coaching. Escalations. So it will automatically escalate to someone if someone is perhaps not happy. So they initially, start off a conversation with a robot, with Copilot. It will look at the context and the sentiment of the customer. And if the customer isn't happy, it might ask questions about, okay, what is it you're not happy about? What product is it that you're asking me about? And it will guide it through to the correct person who needs to see it, and then maybe CC a manager or someone as well while they're at it. So it will guide it through to the right person, let someone know this customer is not happy, and also potentially raise a case if you wanted it to as well, or just basically raise flags. Say, hello, customer's not happy here. These people need to know, and this is the product they're talking about. It's able to do that without a human being involved, but it will drag in the human beings as and when it needs to. And then customer service. So once you've closed a ticket down and you're saying you've resolved it, we've all seen those emails. Thank you for raising a ticket with us. We're closing the ticket. Here are the resolution notes. It might be that you want to gain some feedback from your customer about how it was resolved. Did we resolve it quickly? Was it within your SLA? Is it to your expectations? Did we actually solve the problem? It can send that kind of survey out, and then depending on the responses back from your customer, it can again raise flags if something isn't right. And if it feels that maybe they need a call from their account manager, it might just tell the account manager, look, we've had a ticket recently, the customer wasn't happy, we took too long to respond. Account manager, can you give them a call to say, really sorry, we've got a high volume of calls, we'll make sure we'll try and prioritize you next time. And on the prioritizing you next time, you could build that into the Copilot as well. You would have a field on the customer to say, customer has previously raised concerns about our response time. Please ensure that when this customer calls up in future that we're getting back to them nice and quickly. And that could just be on the header of the customer. And it's just based on what it knows from previous. You're not relying on human beings necessarily to add that information. It is an assistant. Okay. You'll be pleased to know that's me about finished on the topics that I wanted to tell you about. As you can tell, I'm quite excited about some of the functionality within AI and Copilot within Dynamics. It's there to help you. It's there as an assistant. It's certainly not there to interact with customers automatically. It won't do that unless you tell it to. And we can help you set the controls on it to make sure it operates within the bounds of your expectations. It's not going to go off by itself and email your entire client base or anything like that. These horror stories that you see from the movies of the 80s, it won't do anything like that. It will only be marshaled by what you tell it. And we can, I've worked with it enough now to know, how to make sure it's marshaled in the correct way, what information it can be provided with. There is a knack to providing it with information. If your documentation and your information is bad, don't expect the AI is going to be able to make head or tail of it. It's the age-old adage, which I've always told you about, which is if you put bad data in, don't expect good data out. So yeah, it does depend on what you're feeding it. That's me finished talking now anyway, so I'll open up to some questions if you guys have any.
Hi, Sam. Thanks. Brilliant. That was really, really useful. We've had a few questions come in via the chat, so I think we've got a few minutes just to go through. So we have had a question from Matt about your presentation. He's asked, in your experience, have you found that customers have been adopting Copilot in their daily operations, and how long have you been implementing it for?
So it's a fairly sort of bleeding edge feature. So it's only really been around properly within the last 6 months to a year, at least inside of Microsoft. I've been using ChatGPT for some time, as I'm sure you all have as well. Where we're finding we're mostly implementing this at the moment is somewhat limited in that what customers want to know is I'm logging information in 12 different places across Dataverse, and I don't want to have to look in those 12 different places just to gain a summary of what's going on. So what we've done is we've implemented mechanisms that will just, the Copilot will go and look in those areas automatically, garner the information, and then put it in a summary inside of the Dataverse. So they're not having to click through different tabs, different customers, different entities. The Copilot's done that already, and it just gives them a summary at the top. And it's been good because when we've had manager types that don't need to know the ins and outs of every single email, they just need to know what's gone on, it's good for that, because it will, it won't give all the information. It just gives they logged the ticket on this date, we got back to them on this date, here's what was said, and this is how we sorted it, and this is how it was left. So for that kind of thing, it's been extremely handy. to summarize, basically.
Okay, I think we've got time for a couple more questions. So we've had another question from Claire, and she has said she's noted that it's got image recognition abilities. So in theory, would she be able to take a picture of a document on her phone and then have Copilot create a Word document based on the contents? Is that possible?
Yeah, because it's got image recognition. So it's able to pick out the text in a picture, and then you can define what action you would like it to take. Now, how you interact with it, you could either do it through a chatbot, like I've demoed here, where you can upload a document, get it to read it, and then one of the actions you define is to go and do something, create a Word document, for example. Or you could use Power Automate. So you could just drop a file over into Microsoft Dynamics that's got, a picture in it of a document. And then when it sees a new picture turn up, Copilot would then be able to digest it, read it, send an email out to someone, or commit the data in that document into fields inside a Dataverse, so that it could then be searched on easily by anybody. You could ping Teams messages as well if you wanted it to. Yeah, if you combine it with Power Automate, it's extremely powerful. There was one customer that we had that was obviously I can't say names. It's a law firm, and they deal with a lot of sort of handwritten documents, and they're scanning in a lot of documents, and for them it was ideal because all they had to do was upload the scanned document, and Copilot was able to look at that scanned document and pick out the bits that were defined in there and submit them all into the correct field without someone having to sort of type it manually, which is what the paralegals were doing. So it saved them a massive amount of time, just on getting documentation added automatically. And as I said, I used it personally the other day, where I couldn't read some handwriting, and I just uploaded the picture and I said, I can't decipher this, can you read it for me? And it did, and it was right as well. So for instances like that, it was quite helpful. Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, this is a great question. This one's come in from Simon, and he's asked, if I send you an email, how do I know your response is from you and not generated by AI?
Okay, you don't if we don't tell you. I don't want to get too much into the ethics here. I've got my own personal opinion, but unless you're saying on your email response was generated by an AI, the thing you can do with this is I can train a Copilot agent on how I speak, on my cadence in written language. So I could feed in an example of how I talk in my emails, and then I could say, listen out on my email address, and automatically respond to my customer in my style with exactly how I would respond. And here is some knowledge that you need to look at, so that you can automatically go back to the customer with that knowledge. Unless I say on that auto response was generated not by me but an AI, that customer, for all they know, it's me responding. And if I'm training it on my language, it wouldn't even raise a flag. So I don't want to get into the ethics of it, but yeah, it is able to actually automatically respond to people, and it would look, for all intents and purposes, human.
Ah, fantastic. Okay, I think we can squeeze in one more question.
Yep.
So this has come in from Vanessa, and she says it's a non-AI question. She's asked, how might I go about implementing data masking in my own system? And then she goes on to say there are a few fields which should only be viewable, but for staff within certain teams.
Yep. So data masking is, again, it's a fairly new feature. It's not yet fully rolled out to everyone. Talk to us if you want the hand specifically. Sorry, I missed the name there. What's her name?
That was Vanessa.
Okay. Vanessa, yeah, talk to us. The best thing to do is in this case, because it's not fully featured and I can't demo it yet. I've not really got my hands on it too much, but I have seen a fair number of screenshots and communication from Microsoft. It will be coming soon, and what we'll do is we'll train you on how to set it up yourself, and then you'll be away. So it's not something that I'm saying always come to us whenever you want to mask a field. I will guide you, and then you'll be able to sort of take that away and set up masking on various fields. And as I say, it's great for things like bank account numbers or sensitive information that not the whole business needs to see. And with data governance and authorization, you can ensure that only the right people are seeing the information. And the nice thing it will also do as well is it can intelligently decide on who should see that information depending on different fields and factors. So in some instances, it knows this particular individual should be able to see what's in this masked field, but maybe not for another record. So it's clever enough to know under what circumstances people need to see what's in those masked fields.
Okay, brilliant. I think that's all the time we've got for questions. So thank you for joining us this morning. We'll be sending out a recording of the session via email to you later in the week, so you can rewatch, share with colleagues. For those of you that we didn't get to your questions, we will follow up with you personally. We've just run out of time. So today was a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the new features available in the latest release. So if you've got more questions, do reach out to us if you'd like further information. Also keep an eye out on our events page for upcoming events. We'll be running more kind of webinars like this. It's updated regularly, so keep checking in. And finally, once again, thank you for taking time out of your morning. Have a great day ahead, and you know where we are if you have any further questions. Thank you, everyone, and thanks,
Thank you.
Sam and Pauline.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.